What is up, Baggies fans, football fans and sports fans, to another video on the channel. Today, EFL Championship is so close to returning. So I thought, let's give you my week one game predictions, break it down a little bit and give you the chance to let me know your predictions down below as well. Remember, I have got a Discord running. If you want to join it, it's in the description down below. People who join the Discord, I will be running a predictions league. If you want to take part, winner will get a football shirt of their choice. So make sure you join the Discord. It'll be for Baggies predictions only. So if you are another football fan, you're more than welcome to join. But you will be predicting on the Baggies scores. Let's aim for 40 likes on this video. As I say, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. And let's get into it. Subscribe. We are on our way to 500 subscribers. And it is set to return. Here it is, the EFL Championship. August the 8th to August the 10th will feature some of the biggest names in English football outside the Premier League, including three of the freshly relegated clubs, Leicester, Ipswich and Southampton, alongside Hollywood-backed Wrexham, American-backed Birmingham City and Charlton Athletic, who, of course, have tasted Premier League experience previously. This league is looking tasty. It's going to be a thrilling mix of old giants, sleeping underdogs and clubs hungry to rewrite their history. Let's take a look at each fixture in detail and preview what to expect to happen this weekend. It promises to set the tone for the months ahead. Starting out Friday the 8th of August. Who can't beat a nice bit of Friday night football? Birmingham City versus Ipswich Town, or should I call it the Akpom debut? Because who knows where he's going? These two have been playing tug of war with that player for the last couple of days now, and nobody knows where he's going to end up. Birmingham City kick off the new campaign under the lights at St Andrews against Ipswich, a club that's tasted Premier League life just last season. The game is a contrast in recent journeys. Birmingham surged to a stunning League One title with over 110 points last season, riding the momentum of new ownership and a young squad brimming with belief and making some fantastic signings as well. Ipswich, on the other hand, were relegated from the Premier League, but have kept much of their top flight experience intact and are heavily favoured for the challenge for automatic promotion. Now, Baggies fans, you'll know the Ipswich backline. They signed Palmer, they've got Townsend, Dara O'Shea's just been made captain, they've signed Kipre. All they really need is a right back now, and they've got the Albion defence, so who knows what's going to happen in this game. It is going to be a spicy one. Obviously, you've got the American-backed ownership of Birmingham City and the English-backed side of Ed Sheeran with Ipswich Town. It's going to be an intense game. I'm expecting a lot of tempo, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Ipswich Town. Bit of an interesting one for starting Blues, but I think Ipswich have just got that Premier League quality that will help them push through this game. Moving on to Southampton versus Wrexham. Saturday early kickoff. Wrexham, what a story. Wow. It is going to be one of the most weekend talk about games. Southampton bring life back to the Championship after relegation from the Premier League. Their style of football, focused on high possession and quick transitions, remains one of the most technical in the league. Obviously, under a new manager as well, it'd be interesting to see how he does in the Championship. Wrexham, meanwhile, have completed a fairy tale rise from non-league football to Championship in just a few years. Their Hollywood owners, Ryan Reynolds and Rob Elmerick, have generated global attention, and now the team must prove themselves on the pitch. It's a baptism of fire for Wrexham, and they'll need to be sharp defensively to keep out Southampton, a team that will likely dominate the ball. Whether Wrexham can rise to the moment or get overwhelmed by a fascinating storyline, who knows? I am going to go for Southampton 2-0 winning this game. I think Wrexham are making some decent signings, but I don't know if they're signings to push them into the Championship or just to kind of help them stay there. It will be known, obviously, after a couple of weeks, but I do think this one is going to be a Southampton win. Moving on to the next game, obviously another promoted side, Charlton Athletic. They're back in the Championship for the first time since 2020. Obviously tasted Premier League experience themselves, and their campaign will begin at the Valley against Watford side, who have become synonymous with instability, sacking managers and moving players. It's just, I would not like to be a Watford fan at the moment. What's going on? Obviously, I did their kit review the other day, and their kits are horrible, but less on that one. Charlton's promotion last season was powered by solid home record and midfield players, energy and purpose. Watford, despite their financial muscle and past Premier League pedigree, have burned through managers in recent seasons and haven't found much consistency. However, they do remain dangerous on the break, and they've retained some of the creative key players from last season. The question here is whether Charlton's enthusiasm and freshness will be enough to overcome Watford's experience at this level. Expect a high-paced encounter, particularly in the wide areas. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw in this game. I think both teams will be pushing for it and cancel each other out. It'll be a very good opening game for Charlton if they get a point against Watford. Moving on to Coventry versus Hull. Coventry City host Hull in a fixture that feels like it belongs in the April playoff run. For Coventry, that is, not for Hull. Not in the first weekend. Coventry narrowly missed off the playoffs last season, playing some of the most progressive football in their league. Manager, obviously, Frank Lampard is, wow. When he first joined, I didn't think they would do that well. Obviously, they struggled, and then they just went on just a run out of nowhere, and they looked really, really solid. Obviously, when they played us, we just rolled over and let them do it, let them beat us. And they have got some, talented players in there. Hull on the other side and hand had a very, very poor season last season, barely staying up, scraping up on their last day of the season. And I do believe they're going to be really, really struggling again this season. Obviously, they signed Semi Ajayi from the Albion. Whether he can stay fit for the full season or, disappear to the AFCON in January, who knows? But I do think it'll be, a very tough game for Hull. I do expect a tense midfield battle in this one, with the first goal potentially being crucial. But if Coventry do get it, I do believe they'll end up running riot, and we'll see Hull's almost fragile system come out again. I'm going with a Coventry 3-0 victory in this game. Moving on to Middlesbrough versus Swansea. Tough one to call this. Is both teams, have made changes, and Middlesbrough are one of those teams. When they're on form on one of their days, they've got some fantastic players in their team, and they can beat pretty much anybody in the league. But it's just coming down to if they're on their day. They've got a squad full of attacking talent. Obviously, they sacked Michael Carrick last season. Are they going to push on this season? Who knows? Swansea, on the other hand, are still in a bit of a rebuild phase. Conceded far too many goals last season. This game at the Riverside promises to be open, especially if Borough's front three click from the start. And I do think here I'm going to go with a Middlesbrough 1-0 win. If Swansea can't shut defensively, it could get away from them quickly, but I do think it will just be a tight encounter, fresh opening day, and I'll go with a Borough 1-0 win. Norwich versus Millwall. This is going to be an absolute cracker, I believe. Norwich begin the season, should I say, sorry, at Carrow Road with renewed optimism. New manager in charge, some big money being spent. Obviously, they've lost Borja Sainz. Potentially might be losing Josh Sargent as well. So it could be a damaging season for them. However, they have invested wisely, and I do think that they are going to be in and around the playoffs towards the end of the season. Their opponents, Millwall, I predicted them for, mid-table mediocrity. Maybe I got that wrong. Maybe Millwall are going to surprise us all and push for that, playoff side. They're a very physical side and tough to break down. However, away from home, how do they tend to do? A bit hit and miss. Norwich, however, again, they were among the top sides from long-range goals last season, and I expect them to control possession and create chances from deeper areas. For Millwall, a lot hinges on whether they can get that goal and set up and defend and then try and catch Norwich on the break, and I think that is how they're set up. It could be an interesting game. I'm going to go with 2-1 Norwich in this game. I think Millwall will score early on, but I think Norwich's pressure with obviously Liam Manning in charge will be too much for them. Moving on to QPR versus Preston. QPR had a hit and miss season last season. They were good in some games, not so good in the other. They look very good against us, but everybody tends to look good against us, so I won't read too much into that. The home form, it's not been the best for them, and I think they really need to correct that if they're to push on this season. In obviously Preston again, wow, they just were really, really poor last year and very, very lucky to stay up again. This one could be the battle of the mid-table, in my opinion. I think Preston going to have to learn from their mistakes, become that compact and structured team, and see if they can exploit QPR in any way. It's going to be an interesting one. I think it'll just be a 1-1 draw with lots of, goal mouth action, but nobody with the quality to put the ball in the net. Going to go with a 1-1 draw in this game. Stoke City versus Derby County. Two of the most historic clubs clash at the Bet365 Stadium in what should be a tightly contested Midlands battle. Stoke have built a defensively solid side and were hard to beat at home last season. Everybody knows how difficult it is to go to the Bet365 and come away with a result. Derby, however, on the other hand, were quite, I want to say weak under Paul Warne, but they were hit and miss again. A very, very weird side. Sometimes I'll turn up, sometimes I wouldn't. However, when Eustace come in charge, there was definite change in form for them. They look very good, very difficult to beat, and very hard to break down. And I do think Derby are going to be on for a fantastic season. Whereas Stoke, I do think Stoke will struggle under Mark Robbins. I think they're making some great signings, but I do think they'll still struggle. So I'm going to go for Derby 1-0 winning this one. West Bromwich Albion versus Blackburn. I'm not going to dive too much into this one because it will be my focus feature for Friday, the pre-match build-up. Just going to give you my score predictions. I'm going to go 2-1 for the Albion open day under Ryan Mason. Obviously, I will do into more to that tomorrow. Sheffield United versus Bristol City. Late kickoff on Sky Sports. Sheffield United will be looking really to push on this season. How they finished on the points they did and not go up was absolutely ridiculous. Leeds United, wow, wow, wow. Those two teams that went up, Leeds and Burnley, the points that they acquired to beat Sheffield United and go up with the points they had were fantastic. Bristol City, on the other hand, had a fantastic season as well, got into the playoffs. However, they have lost their manager. Who knows how this is going to affect them, how this is going to change them. Do think Sheffield United will run out again. They've lost Chris Wilder as well, and brought in the Hall manager, I believe it is. So it's going to be a tight contest, I think. But I do believe Sheffield United will go out 3-1 winners in this game. That is my prediction. Leicester City versus Sheffield Wednesday. Wow, you've got to feel for Sheffield Wednesday. The club is in absolute turmoil. Obviously, Albion fans, we know how bad it is when owners are holding the club for ransom and basically whittling away any hope of having a club. And I do think Sheffield Wednesday are in the same sort of position. Obviously, Barry Bannon has signed a extension, which brings them a little bit of stability, but they can't sign anybody in players to just jumping ship left, right, and centre. In comparison, Leicester, they're going to be looking to bounce straight back up to the Premier League. There is a points deduction looming over their head, and I do believe they'll be wanting to get that out of the way as quick as possible and start getting victories to help claw back that points deduction. I really do feel for Sheffield Wednesday in this one. I'm going to go with a 4-0 win for Leicester. I just think they're going to run absolutely riot against Sheffield Wednesday. And I think as soon as that first goal goes in, I think Sheffield Wednesday's players' heads will drop. They haven't really had a proper pre-season. Danny Rowell's just left. I think Leicester's depth, technical quality and experience will make them overwhelming favourites to start the season with a win in front of the home crowd. And that is this week's predictions. Obviously, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love reading everybody's opinions and how we think we're all going to do. It will be a fascinating season this season. I really do think it will be multiple action games going on for each week. Obviously, midweek action as well. Looking forward to that. Stay tuned for Friday for my full breakdown of WBA versus Blackburn. I'm going to have some interesting opinions and facts in there as well. So make sure you stay subscribed for that. And as I say, we are on our way to 500 subscribers. And that is your full preview of Championship Week 1, from Birmingham's Friday night curtain raiser to Leicester's Sunday showdown. There's a narrative in every game. The journey to the Premier League starts now, and the pressure is on from the first whistle. We'll be back with reactions, stand-up performers, and a look at Match Day Week 2. Thanks for joining us. Football is back, and the Championship never disappoints. Bye-bye.